right, guys. Here we go again. Hear me out. Episode 7, election night 2020. Today is November the 3rd or whatever, so it's election night. I'm Eric.
Donovan.
Brandon.
All right, so let's go. Right now we got we have the election on the TV right now, so we can watch it. So people that are watching this, that's what we're looking at. We keep looking up. So we'll, even though it's not live, we're just gonna give you some live interaction. What we see, we'll respond to it or whatever, and you guys comment. So first thing I think we probably need to get into
It's Crew-Beware. Shouts out to my boy. Shout it out. Shout out to Crew-Beware.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, Tony. Groovy Clothing. Go get it. So right now, what we need to talk about is why we're voting for who we're voting for. Before we got started, there was actually a pretty interesting discussion on that particular topic. So I'll let Brandon start it.
I thought you'd be good to set it off.
I'll set it off. Yeah. So, when I think about voting, I think about people dying for our vote, people getting water hose, people marching, people risking a lot of things for us to have the right to vote. With that, we have the right to vote for whoever we want to vote for. That is the right to vote, not the right to choose this candidate. What I don't like, or what I'm not a fan of, is people that are like, if you didn't vote for this person, then we're not friends and we can't be cut off and da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, that kind of goes against what America is about, which is you having the right, the freedom, and the liberties to do and to choose. I may not agree with it, but it's no more different than Chevy and Ford, Mercedes and BMW, right? It's just a choice. With that being said, we have to think about people vote parties. And what I was saying was, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, when I go to the 5th page of the ballot and it says the Region 3 trash taker outer on Tuesdays and Thursday. And I'm like, who the hell is this person? I vote Democrat because I'm Democrat. And what I realized was I'm Democrat, I guess, whatever. What I realized is that I'm voting for a party affiliation. And if I'm voting for a party affiliation, lots of other people are also voting for party affiliation. Trump is just one part of the Republican Party. There's the Senate, there's the House, there's governors, there's local city people that are also Republicans. And so if I'm voting Democrat, which I've done for some years, and occasionally I voted Republican, I was probably 18, whatever the case may be, right? I'm voting party. And so when I look at this, I see people that I know have love for me, that are not African American, that love my family and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that they themselves are racist. I do think Trump is a racist. I don't think that they are racist, but I think that they are supporting the Republican Party as I support the Democratic Party. So I'm kind of against people saying, if you didn't vote for Trump, then you can't be my friend. I'm like, dude, let people vote for who they want to vote for and keep it moving. You know who their character is or what their character is.
I think that's part of the problem. I, for one, I don't vote Democratic or Republican. I do like I do everything else in my life. I make my decision based on the person and not the label. That's really what I look at it as. So in my opinion, if somebody were to, let's say we had a candidate that was, yeah.
So when you're on that 5th page and that person's there and you have no idea who they are and you have a choice between a Republican and Democrat, who do you vote for?
I do actually do a good
amount. That's not me. You have to, yeah.
I do a good amount of research before I go to vote, so I'm kind of aware who's going to be on the ballot. But in the occasion, if I do not know, if I don't feel I can make an educated decision based on something, I don't just vote Democrat or vote Republican. There are Democratic assholes out there too. Amen. So so I just don't, I don't do that. But to my point, I was saying if there's a candidate that's Democratic, and let's say I'm a Democrat, and they were against the LGBTQ community for some reason, and I believe in rights for gays and for lesbians and bisexuals and all and everybody in that class. I'm not going to vote for that person just because I'm a Democratic Party. If they don't share the same beliefs that I do of treating people fairly and people having equal rights, I'm not voting for that person. It's not based upon what label they're wearing. I could care less about that.
There we go. All right. So when I vote, which is every single election since I was 18, what I did when I was younger was definitely just vote party lines. What happened to me a few years ago was I came to the same realization that Donnie did, and that was some of the times I don't know who these people are. And that caught me off guard, and I said it'll catch me off guard one time. Since then, I take a cheat sheet with me because the information is out there. So before the election, you already know who's going to be on the ballot. You look up the ballot, you look up the people who are running or whatever, you form your own opinion. And then what I do is because you can do it, you take your cheat sheet in with you. And if you don't remember who it was, you take a cheat sheet, you look at it, you're like, oh, well, on page 5, the trash taker, picker upper guy, this is the guy that I looked up or whatever. That's the guy that I got circled on my cheat sheet. So that's the guy that I'm voting for. So that's how I handled that particular scenario. Right. And I do that almost automatically. I just want to make sure that I'm making an informed decision because I didn't like the feeling of just going through and checking people off because they were Democrats, because there are, like Brandon said, there are some Democratic assholes, like the district attorney of the city of Atlanta.
Amen.
District asshole.
Howard, former?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did not vote for him.
So him.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
He's
So
a crook.
yeah.
Funny.
Right. I mean, so that's the thing. It's trying to make sure it's making sure that you're informed when you go to vote. When you go into that voting booth, you need to have all the information ahead of you.
I think that's critical.
Your other point, yeah, I agree, it's critical. Your other point though is when you kind of went through the. Are we talking the difference between Democrat and Republican and that's just a choice. In most other situations, I think it's a choice, and probably in the last few presidential elections, minus 16, I'd go, you know what? It doesn't really matter who the president is or whatever, because they're decent people, decent human beings. And
I have nothing against George Bush. W.
Right. So when I look at that, I'm like, you would sit down and have a drink. You go watch a basketball. You'd watch a basketball game, football game with pretty much any of those presidents in recent memory, and that we've all lived through their presidencies. When I look at President Trump, I do not have that same feeling. I think he is an abject racist, and if I had the opportunity to, and there's no consequences or repercussions, I definitely would punch his ass in the throat. No question. I didn't say that I was planning on doing it. What I said was, if I had the opportunity to and there was no consequences, someone should definitely do it. Maybe, and I'd be happy with it. I'm not walking it back. There was no threat made. I'm just saying, if in a perfect world, in an Eric-centric world, that would be one of those things that would happen.
Edit this out.
I'm not doing it. I'm gonna make sure I put some bold letters up under there. So when we get back to the why we're voting for who we're voting for, you feel like that's covered. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I think the key is part of it. I like what's going on. I like what you said. I'm glad that you guys are informed. I'm not, right? So we have to do a better job of teaching people to go to the polls prepared, because what we really teach people is, or what we really promote is, go vote, go vote, go vote, right? And so what we're not telling people is to go vote on those random elections that happen on a random Tuesday in the middle of a non-presidential election year, right? People forget about those. And that's where a lot of changes can end up happening in the local house and such like that. So those votes are also very important. But like you said, the ballot's already there, and people need to go read and research and figure out who they want to vote for prior to going, because I do get caught off guard, but I haven't done enough research, because I'm going voting for the president, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this, right? So the next phase is teaching people to be educated in order to go make those informed decisions.
I was going to say, when it comes to voting along party lines and whatnot, people can disagree on politics, foreign policy, educational military funding, tax structure, but I cannot give people passes on outright having poor views of basic human rights being equal for everybody. Like that, there's a difference between those two things. That's not political. So to me, I think when we say, okay, if you ride with this person, I'm not riding with you. If you do that over politics, that's silly. If you do it over something based on human rights, it's a whole nother thing. So
I think I agree there. So next thing, I'm actually going to throw a curveball in here, because there was something that happened that I completely missed on putting on the overview. Amy Coney Barrett was just voted in for the Supreme Court a couple of days ago. It happened. The whole process was 30 days. That's the fastest by almost 120 days. She is the least qualified candidate to hit the Supreme Court in a very, very long time. Last year, or the last year of President Obama's term in office. Good grief, term in office. He tried to put somebody in, and he had 11 months before the end of his term. So a full year. Trump was 22 days ahead before the end of his term. What do you guys think about it?
I think there were people that voted against making that move back in 2016 that voted for making this move in 2020. And I think it's our responsibility,
Mitch McConnell,
as voters, if you are in the same states of those people that voted that way, I think you need to recognize that and make changes. To Dama's point, it's also important to know the other races, not just the races for president, but for Senate seats and House seats and other positions as well, because those are also positions of influence.
So what we're dealing with now is politics is really coming to the forefront of a lot of things going on. So in work, in traditional settings, you don't talk politics, you don't talk salary, you don't talk sex, right? So
if you want, you're going to be in trouble.
Right. I don't know. But anyway, no, so now politics is being kind of thrown to the forefront of a lot of different things. And, people are just going off of basically their ignorant knowledge about politics. They don't really have an in-depth political science. It sounds like a T-shirt, you're right, we need to hashtag that right now. Get the URL. But anyway, people are basically going off of what they think this is, right? And so, yes, we can be mad about what happened with Obama and his person, and yes, we can be mad about what happened with Trump. But this is politics at its finest, because the Senate had to say they were all Republican, or not all Republican. The Republicans were going to stick together, and so it doesn't matter whether it took 100 days or 2 days. It was going to be pushed through. So that's kind of like what's going on. So now people they're having a say about it, like, oh, this, that, and the other. But this is why I guess this election is so important, because now we're going to see a change in those Senate. Hopefully we'll see a change in those Senate seats. But what we're going to see is the Democrats are going to do the same thing the Republicans did. They're going to stack the courts. in their favor, and they're going to make all these laws. And so we're just going to see it on the flip side. It's going to make people that are Democrat feel good about what's going on. But this is politics at its best, which is almost politics at its worst.
The people that lose are the American people. When all this is being the people that lose are the American people in this game of politics, and that's the issue. Whether it's the Republicans stacking the deck or the Democrats stacking the deck, the fact that we have people in Washington stacking the deck is the issue.
Right. So
Shout out, Teddy.
the reality is, if Biden wins, then the next move that will be made by the Democrats, especially if both the House and the Senate flip blue, the next thing would be that the Democrats are gonna pack the court, or are going to expand the court, the Supreme Court, and they'll expand it. What I figure is probably up to 13, versus the current 9 justices. If you bring it up to 13, then that gives you that'll give them a simple majority of the court or whatever, with a tiebreaker being that 9th or being that 13th judge or whatever. So right now it's 6-3. So they go up an additional. If they go up an additional 4, then they end up making the numbers and making it, I guess, more balanced. And the reason, obviously, that's a big deal is because there's tons of litigation that's on the table right now that could affect a lot of different things.
When was the last time it was expanded?
I don't know. I think as
It's always been 9.
I was about to say, I think it's always been 9.
I actually think that's not the case.
You can definitely look it up. Google's available.
I'm going with DuckDuckGo. They don't trace me.
Shout out Lil Wayne. Can we talk about Lil Wayne?
Okay, so we're gonna yeah, let's talk about rappers. Go ahead.
So we're going to talk about, I wouldn't necessarily we have it listed, well, rappers speaking for black people. And I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I think it's just those guys or those people saying their opinion. I don't think that they are speaking for black people. I don't think they've said, I'm here to speak for black people. I think it's just what they've said. And there it is. Lil Wayne Carter said that, Black Lives Matter. He was like, what is that? He was like, my life matters. He said that the killings was just it was a cop who killed a person and it was fucked up, and that's that. And he also stated that if you're not connected to him and his family, then he doesn't really care about it. I totally agree with him. I was looking at the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't have any, it's a movement, but it's also like a group, right? And so when I look at the NAACP, the SCLC, the Urban League, I look at the influence and the impact and the things that they were able to get done. I'm a huge fan of Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement because I feel like that's when we as black people made the greatest strides. We made the greatest strides because we talked about equal rights, civil rights. We didn't go, this is for black people. It was kind of like, we want equal rights. We didn't want to be better. We weren't screaming black, 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 black. It was, we want civil rights, like I stated. So with that being said, I look at Black Lives Matter and I'm like, what have they as a organization accomplished? And I don't think it's a lot, right? And so we look at, they've been around since 2013, and 2020 they banned chokeholds. Well, they banned chokeholds because of what happened to George Floyd, right? And that just had such an emotional impact. It wasn't because Black Lives Matter was negotiating with police unions and making this happen. That had nothing.
The George Floyd thing only happened in the ban of the chokeholds is not a national. It's not a national ban.
It's not a national ban, right? But the ban that's been happening is because of that situation. And what we saw, I don't think it was like Black Lives Matter went into police unions and police stations and said, this is what we need, this is what we demand. So that's why I'm saying, when I say what has Black Lives Matter as a organization, what have they accomplished and done? I don't see much as a direct link from the organization to the changes that have been made. The other piece that Wayne talked about was what do you say? Being connected, right? And we were just kind of having this conversation earlier. If it doesn't really concern me, I can't really say that I'm connected to it. I'm not connected to certain groups, affiliations, and such because it's I'm not a part of it. I don't have people that are part of it, so I can't say that I'm speaking for them. I'm going out on them, out on a limb for them. And traditionally, we are connected to the things that we're connected to. The last thing he said that I was like, okay, I vibe with that is I look at things as they are killings by cops, and it's messed up. I think the news media portrays it as white people killing black people. And when I look at it, it doesn't matter because we're talking about a human person's life. It doesn't matter who did it. It's messed up. I'm not going to shed more tears or be more hurt or be more angry because a white cop shot Breonna Taylor. I don't give a damn what color they are. That is a messed up situation. It shouldn't have happened. And to the race thing has to me,
because she was black.
that is not true. That is not true. And what I look at is when we're gonna say racial stuff and we're gonna put race to it, like in the 60s and 70s. White people went out and said, we're going to find us a nigga, we're going to lynch us. It was a whole like production of, we want this, we're looking for this, and this is going to happen. In these situations, I don't think that these people are said, you know what, I'm brushing their teeth this morning, I'm going to catch me and I'm going to kill me. I don't think that situation happened. I think there was something that happened. It got out of hand and boom. And then we want to go, well, they were white, this person was black, so it must be racial, they must be racist. And I don't look at it that way. Maybe that's because I want to be, wholesome. I just want to say it is what it is. But I'm not going to say that somebody that lost their life at a hands of another person because of their color, that it was racist. It was messed up. These people lose their lives over these situations. But I'm not going to necessarily throw racial and racism at everything.
No, go ahead.
All right. There's
You're probably touching all the same points.
there's a lot to unpack there. So let's see if we can go point by point, right? Like item by item. Okay. So let's talk about rappers about the rappers in general. So I'll talk about Cube, Ye, 50, Wayne, as well as Killa Mike, right? So we'll go with Wayne first, though, because that's the one that you seem to have the most connection to. So Wayne is like, I don't respect a whole lot about him. I mean, he's a good rapper when he's not high, and that's good. But his mind seems to have been absolutely fried by all of the lean and all of the drugs and everything that he's done. And when he starts to talk and say, well, he's down with voting for Trump or whatever, that is his opinion and he's definitely entitled to it. But when you start to say, well, you think that black people should vote for Trump, that's when I have a problem with it. And I'm okay with you saying whatever you want, because I don't believe that anybody, like, I hated it when the reporter basically told the basketball players they should shut up and dribble. I hate it when I hear everybody say that Colin Kaepernick should have stood up. I hate all of those things or whatever, but I think people have the right to say whatever it is they want to say, right? But Wayne, given his absolutely limited mental capacity, he should definitely not be the person that's standing up in front of everybody saying, hey, this is who we should have being a leader. I wouldn't have him leading my kids through Cub Scouts, right? I mean, this guy, I wouldn't have him. He's not, in my opinion, the type of role model that we want. I don't think President Obama, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Weezy, like, he don't make it on that. He don't make it on that list. He's not on the list with John Lewis or C.T. Vivian. He doesn't make that list or whatever. And and everything that he said has been
Why not
really,
make the list?
everything that he says has been really like self-focused. It's just about him. Yeah. So when everything that you say is just about you, everything that you focus on is just about what you can get out of it, and that kind of ties in with 50 Cent, with his endorsement of Trump because he thinks that that Biden's tax plan is going to tax him at 65% or whatever, which is not what the plan said. And his simple self should have been able to read that 50. And which is probably based off of what I've seen, his 50 cents probably what his 50 is probably what his IQ is. So I'm just like, I'm really, really tired of these guys kind of oversimplifying these things or whatever. Care about other people. So that's those two guys. Kanye, not worth speaking on. He's got some mental issues he needs to work on. Somebody get him help. I miss the old Kanye. Ice Cube. Okay, now I understand what Cube was trying to do. I understand his idea. The problem with what Cube said, with his speaking out, I don't have a problem with him having conversation with Trump. I don't have a problem with him having a conversation with Biden or whatever. I think that's a great thing to do. Have those conversations. That's having those conversations with people in power when you've got access is right along the lines of Whitney Young. We've had this conversation before. That's right along those same lines. The problem, though, is the timing is absolutely piss poor. If we as Black people want to have conversations with candidates and have some leverage, you have those conversations during the primaries where you can start to get some assurances then, and whichever candidate is going to be loyal to those things, then that's when you want to have those conversations. When you get to the general election, we need to be lockstep in line, especially when you're going between Trump and Biden right now. There's too much on the line, and your timing was poor, O'Shea. It was absolutely poor, right? So then the next thing, Donnie, is to then talk about there's not racism and things like that. I don't think I could disagree anymore.
I didn't say that.
What did you say?
I don't think those situations. I don't think those situations had anything to do with race.
Okay, so which situations do have something to do with race then?
I mean, so if we're gonna talk about it, I don't think Rayshard Brooks was shot because he was black. I don't think Breonna Taylor was shot because she was black. I don't think George Floyd was killed because he was black. I don't think Eric Garner was killed because he was black. I don't think they went in there like, we're killing these people because they're black. Like, I think George Floyd, I mean, that I'm gonna tell you right now, that really, really had a huge impact on me and touched my heart in just a lot of ways, right? And I was like off for like weeks about that because I saw it and it was just malicious. We have to understand that a phrase that we throw around is common sense isn't so common, right? There are people that are assholes. There are people that just don't know right. What he did was wrong. What those people did was wrong, but I don't think it was because he was black. Like,
wow. Let me touch on that real quick. I don't think that Derek Chauvin. Sorry, I didn't mean to mutter your name like that. Yeah, I don't think Derek Chauvin kneeled on George Floyd's neck because he was black, but 100% in the case of Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or countless others. Hold up, or Jacob Blake. They knew the house they were going into. But the point is, when you think you can do something and there's no repercussion, get away with it, that in itself is a system of racism right there. He knew that he thought, you look in that man's eyes, he's like, I can kneel on this person's neck, and because this is a black dude, nobody's going to do anything, nobody's going to say anything. If that was a person of non-color, there's 100% he's not kneeling on that person's neck like that because he knows he's not going to get away with it. We see too many examples of that.
Chauvin had he had 17 or 18 examples, 17 or 18 police brutality charges against him that he lost or whatever, and they were all against black people. No, I know that for a fact. I researched it. You got a phone, you can research it, look it up right now. But I take this seriously, bro. So he had 17 or 18. It's public records.
Okay, I got you. I'm just asking you.
Now it's 17 or 18 charges against him, all of them against black people or whatever. Not one in his 15 years on the force did he have any against white people. How is that not racist?
That doesn't make you racist, man. You have to understand when you're throwing that verbiage out there, like,
what makes you racist, bro?
You have to do an intentional act against someone because they're black. Now, I'm gonna just say this. I was going through
intentional. It's intentional against 18 black people at a minimum that came.
So I went through something with my job, and you know, I went through something, and I was claiming racism, and I was claiming.
Can you clarify?
Nah, I can't. That's really wow, dude. Wow, these are my boys, yo. What the fuck? Wow. So they know. And when I went through that whole thing, and I went through HR, and I had these conversations, and I was like, oh, discriminating. The conversations that were held was like, did that happen because you were black? Did they give you this extra work? Did they do these things because you were black? Yes, it might be wrong. Yes, it might not be fair. Yes, it whatever. But did it happen because of your race? And when I was at the EEOC for several meetings, it was kind of like, yeah, they did these things, but was it because you were black? And so having gone through that experience, it's kind of got me thinking, like, this is probably why I think the way that I think. And so when I'm sitting here thinking about it is, I'm like, yeah, these things happened, but can you say that this happened and that this person did this because they were black? And I can't speak on that. And so therefore I don't. And what I don't like doing is people speculating and saying, well, if this had been a white person, well, we can't project stuff because that just incites what we have going on, right? We don't want to say, well, if that had been a white person, what happened? Because then we're more like we're more like than we need to be, right? We need to deal with exactly what we're dealing with, and so that's just where I'm at. Did those things happen because they were black? Did that cop shoot Rayshad Brooks after talking to him for 45 plus minutes? And Rashad beat him. Did he shoot him because he was black? I don't think so. This is just my opinion. I don't think so. So when we're talking about races, it needs to be, I'm doing this to you because we're black. I don't know what those 18 situations were for whatever. That sounds like there's a lot of issues that need to go on that happen, but I can't really speak on that for or against for those issues.
I think that was a bad cop doing bad things, what Derek Chauvin was. But I'm saying there's been a standard put in place with a lot of those bad cops, and not all cops are bad. It is a very tough job, and there's some very good people that do that job. But in the case of these bad cops that do that, there has been a standard put in place to where it is well known, not just within law enforcement, but in our country, that if you use excessive force against a person of color, the chances are not only will you won't be fired, you won't be prosecuted, you won't go to jail for it. It'll get swept under the rug because it's happened time and time again. I'm saying that is a system of racism. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what that is.
That's a system of the blue code, right? And so what happens is I can speak again. I've been in cops with people that are cops, and they get pulled over, and it's like, because you're a cop, you might have been going 115, 120. You go have a conversation with the cop, you flash your badge, you come back. That's the blue code. The blue code is going to protect their own, and that's what's being taught, which is why they can go out and do those things. If we think about like Eric Garner, there was like 3 people on him, right? And the dude, I mean, that's what we need to look into and figure out what's going on, right? That's
because it's racism.
No,
that's what it is.
No,
well, like if it's not racism, what is it? I just want to. I'm just gonna go back to this. I'm just gonna go back. I just want to go back to this one. If none of those things are racism, what is? Define it for me. Go.
As I was saying, if we're gonna label something that this happened because they were black, right? So when Eric Gardner was getting choked out, there was 3 or 4 guys on him. He got choked out. This was cigarettes. Right. This whatever happened, right? There's 3 or 4 guys on him. He gets choked out, right? He dies, and then it was kind of like, oh shit. But they teach cops to put people in a chokehold. So this is where these things come about, and this is where these issues happen, right? What we need to look at, what I would like for Black Lives Matter to do, or some organization, is to perhaps start saying we need more minority people, cops, to patrol these minority neighborhoods so that we can eliminate perhaps some of this stuff. But I can't sit up here and say that cop that was choking Eric Gardner did so because he was black. I'm not saying he did so because he was a big man and he might have felt threatened and that's why he did it. Not because he was black. He didn't choke that man because he was black. Rayshard Brooks did not get shot because he was black. Breonna Taylor, they could not see. They didn't know she was in the house. They did not shoot and kill her because she was black. They shot because that dude shot and they shot back.
They went into a house knowing there's black people in the house. They went into a house that they were in the wrong house, but they went into a house. They opened fire and shot. And I'm saying they didn't care who they were going to kill.
If you're a police officer and you're performing a no-knock warrant, you're supposed to know who's in the house.
You can't know who's in that house. You have to watch that house the whole day to know who's in that house. There's no way you can pull up to the house.
That is literally their job.
That is not their job.
It is literally their job. They're supposed to know who's in the house.
Who could be in the house, not who's in the house. Carry on.
So they didn't know there was any black people in the house.
Oh my God. I'm not living in.
They should know whose house it is at least.
I mean, so we're not gonna go back through that. So the point of the matter is,
Justice for Breonna Taylor.
she's not getting any justice. And the point about Eric Garner, he was accused of selling loose cigarettes, and you've had conversations with a 30+ year law enforcement agent that I know of. That's my cousin, so I know you had the conversation with them about it. The point is there's not an escalation point for selling a cigarette. That's a ticket. You write a ticket, you give them the ticket, and you walk away. That's what that is. There's no reason for that man to have been choked out. There's no reason for them to have put their hands on him at all.
You don't know that.
I absolutely do, because we've seen the video.
No, you don't.
We've seen the video. At what point is it okay to grab somebody and choke them out because they're selling loose cigarettes?
That seems crazy to me, man.
So there's a couple things that we just have to be aware of. One is states have different laws.
There's no law on the books in New York City that says that you should arrest that you need to put your hands on anyone for selling loose cigarettes. It's a ticket.
So there are. This guy, oh my God. So here's the thing with that, right? There are laws that different states have, just as some states have stand your ground laws, other states don't have that law. And so for us to pretend to be lawyers and police officers and to know all the laws of different states, right? That's where it starts to get cloudy, because we're like, we want to go into these situations where we're like, want to be aggressive and want to support a side when we really don't know all of the ins and outs of that. So perhaps there is no law in selling single cigarettes. What we don't know is a lot of stuff that kind of goes prior to that. What we don't know is when cops, this is where the training comes in, when they're detaining someone to do X, Y, and Z, Are they taught to, hey, pat the person down? Are they taught to do these things? So if I'm taught to make sure that you don't have any weapons and to pat you down, I'm supposed to restrain you, detain you. As I've been detained before, sit on the curb with your handcuffs on. Okay, everything's checked out. Sorry for that. Keep it moving, right? If you start to then resist, which we all seen it on cops, you start to resist, then it changes the complexity of actually what's going on. So the things that probably need to be changed are when and how people do things. So if it's just a ticket that needs to be issued, then maybe they need to tell those cops, don't pat the person down, don't get in that situation where you may have to be physical with them and just kind of keep it moving, right?
That's part of their current.
You don't know that because you have been trained in New York to know that, right? So what we also have to understand is there's a lot of times there's a lot more that goes into those situations than what we know and what we see, right? So that's part of it, right? So with some of these people, they've been selling CDs and single cigarettes for months and for years or whatever the case may be, and the police have already had these conversations with them prior to the date these incidents happened. But at the end of the day, we need better police training so that these things don't happen. And I really don't care what race you are. If something happens to you and you die at the hands of somebody else, it's jacked up and my heart goes out to you. And I'm not finna sit up here and play a race card, whether it's jacked up because more jacked up because you're black. It's not, because regardless of what race you are, you have a family that loves you and somebody that cares about you. That is sad. And so those are things that we need to change. And so that's why I say I identify with Wayne, because it's a cop that was in a situation and it was messed up. And that's why I was like, yeah, because I'm not going to sit up here and put a race card on it, because it doesn't matter to me, because my heart is still going to be emotional for the situation that happened, because it shouldn't have happened. And let's fix the things to change it so that those things don't happen regardless of what race you are.
I've got to get back to Wayne. First of all, before I forget, Wheezy is my absolute favorite. But I just wonder, how much money do you have to accumulate for you to be able to change color? Because that seems to be what's happening, right? With 50, with Wayne, like, do they just have so much money that they say, oh, I'm really am not subject to the actions against black people now because I have that much money? Is there a point where that much money exists? Because that's how I look at that statement with Wayne. I would buy his albums, his records, download all that stuff, but I'm not riding with him based on that. But I also am not going to talk about his mental capacity. I don't know him or 50 Cent. They could be fairly intelligent. I don't know. I think we need to be careful calling out people's mental capacity like that.
Hold up, I got you. Wayne is one of the kindest, nicest people you will ever meet.
I don't know.
Hell of a party on this tour bus too, I expect, but nonetheless. But back to the police, we need to figure out, why do people of color die at such a disproportional rate at the hands of police? That's the question. And is it based on systematic racism? My opinion, yeah, I think it probably is. But that's the issue, Dom. Like that's not a false statement. That's not something that's not true. That's not. People of color die at a disproportionate rate. Why do you think that is? If it's not race related.
Is it because we're more brittle?
I ain't fragile, first of all.
Sometimes I think it has to be with perhaps the situations that are encountered, that people encounter, right? And so just like the guy that got shot in the back in Wisconsin, whatever like that, my mindset is when someone says they're going to the car like that.
Let's not look at individual. I said at a disproportionate rate. As a whole, there has to be a linking factor.
I can't hear you.
Right. Okay. So, so when I look at that, I'm saying, like, that is a mindset, because I know black people that say, I'm finna go to the car. Like, when that fan, somebody says, I'll be right back. Like, you don't need to be there because it's about, some bad stuff is about to go down, right? If they go to their car, they pop their trunk. They reach low, right? From situations in real life and or movies that I've seen. That's some of the stuff that I project. If there was a school shooting or something like that, or a mass shooting, I'm thinking that it's going to be somebody that is of Caucasian descent, because that's kind of what goes down, right? When we're looking at that. So if we're looking at a situation where someone is being aggressive over something that should have been a ticket and now it's this big old thing, like, maybe that's like, oh shit, this is about to go down.
More aggressive.
I didn't say I'm not saying anything. I'm saying that we're talking about situations that happen. So, yeah, I guess maybe you could say that maybe some people think that.
I'm more aggressive. But,
I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought. So.
All right, so here's the thing that's troubling for me, right? So we've got Dylan Roof. We've got all of these mass shooters. The guy in Vegas, the most prolific killer in U.S. history, behind Donald Trump now. But the guy who shot out of the casino and killed 500 plus people. I mean, he's killed about 230,000 people with his handling or with his bungling of COVID-19. So, I mean, he's up there. That guy only killed 500 plus, right? The guy who shot out of the hotel in Vegas. So him, you got the other serial killer who went to church with all of the black people, prayed with them for hours in the prayer group, and then I can't remember which one is which, right? But he then turns around and murders 9 people. So we know he had a gun. He killed 9 people. The police found him, caught him without incident, and took him to Burger King on the way back to the precinct. Now, I don't know any black people that have been taken to Burger King or even a chicken joint that I figure maybe we might have wanted to go to. So nobody got any grape Kool-Aid or anything. Right, so only thing that we're getting is
my Chick-fil-A down one time.
Right,
real talk.
Right, I mean, so all of those things or whatever, these people are being caught and apprehended without incident. So I mean, and they're not beat up or whatever. I mean, so I don't understand how it is that we can find that the police can find ways to gently handle or handle with care people that are not black, but when it comes to black and brown people, Philando Castillo or whatever was in the car. Absolutely doing nothing. He did exactly what he was supposed to do based off of the NRA guidelines. He said, "Officer, just to make you aware, I have a gun. I have a carry permit on me." Or whatever, and so I'm licensed to carry my gun. I do have a gun in the car. I'm not planning on using it. Those were his exact words. And then the police officer turned and shot him in the head in front of his girlfriend and kid.
Because he was black.
Whatever.
Because he was black.
Absolutely, because he was black.
All right. This is what I'm saying. Like, that situation is so fucked up. I don't think you can say that happened because he was black. He shot him because he was black. Yes, he did everything he was supposed to do. Yes, he did everything right. I don't know why that man shot him. Like, he didn't just walk up to him and start shooting him. That is absolutely 100% messed up. Now, as far as the way that people are apprehended, that is what's supposed to happen, right? That is exactly what is supposed to happen. The police are supposed to go into the scene. They're supposed to whatever. Hey, police, put your hands up, get down on the floor. People abide by. That's not what they're supposed to do.
No.
They're not. So if they see someone, they're supposed to start shooting them because they killed somebody. That is not what police are supposed to do, right? Police are supposed to apprehend the person, right? Which is why we're having a difference. If police are supposed to kill them on sight, then what are we talking about?
No. I think we're talking about two different things. So I didn't understand exactly what it was you were saying.
So when the police apprehend someone, that is what they're supposed to do. You also have to think about the differences that go on to your everyday cop that's writing tickets, that's then gets into a situation with somebody, versus your FBI or your SWAT team that's got a little bit better training to apprehend those people, right? Again, these situations are all jacked up and shouldn't be happening. But when you look at if someone says, hey, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest, and you start resisting, versus someone that says, hey, put your hands up behind your back, get on your knees, and they do it, you're looking at two totally different scenarios. And so when we look at some of these situations where people were given a directive and they didn't follow those directives, and then we look at these situations where somebody was given a directive and they follow those directives, sometimes the outcome is different. So that's what we also need to look at, what goes on with that. You can't just be like, oh, they took them in, they knew they were a killer. They're supposed to apprehend the suspect. They're not supposed to kill people, which is why we're upset, because people are being killed. But we also have to understand that if people aren't following and adhering to the guidelines that or the instructions they've been told, then you kind of put your destiny and your fate into someone else's hands, and those are things that kind of go wrong. The chokeholds go wrong, and so those are the things that we need to change when these situations happen. How do we change them so that they don't happen?
All right, we can argue about this literally probably all night, and I don't really want to continue going down this. I'm not going to change your mind. You're definitely not going to change my mind. People are going to believe what they want to believe about these particular scenarios. I'm probably right. You're probably wrong. It's just how I feel about it. But there was one thing that you said that it kind of threw me off. So what you said was that the police are less trained than the FBI or some of those other groups, and that I find interesting and hard to believe, because the police deal with apprehending people on a much more regular basis than your average FBI agent. Absolutely true. Police. There's for simple math. There's way more police. Number one. The other part is police deal with people every single day. They deal with criminals. They deal with the public every single day. The FBI does not deal, the average FBI agent, the average GBI agent, and I know FBI agents and I know GBI agents, and I know some very well, and they will tell you, as well as a person that you've had a conversation with, my cousin, she will tell you the same thing. Her agents don't deal with the public as often as police. Police are the front line of law enforcement. They are absolutely at the forefront.
The police write tickets. Police write tickets for car accidents, cars being broken into. Generally, when they go to a scene for some type of shooting or a bank robbery or whatever the case may be, those people are not there, right? So then you're talking about those. That's what I mean with that situation. Your tactical SWAT teams, your FBI people, because they may deal with them on a less frequent basis. When they go in, they are going in with more of, this is what we do. So on a more consistent basis, your SWAT team and those people deal with those situations than your average cop who is writing tickets who's dealing with domestic violence, writing tickets for car break-ins, and writing tickets for auto accidents and directing traffic. That's what they do the majority of the time. The situations, there's not a lot of times where they go in, somebody's shooting, and they're there and they engage with somebody shooting. That happens very, very seldom. Very, very seldom you have a cop that's actually shot their gun, because they're not used to dealing with those situations. And that's what I meant with that.
But as far as the apprehension, people don't dab anymore. As far as apprehension of people, the police definitely 100% do that way more on a regular basis, and they should be comfortable because it's repetitive. It's something that they do on a regular basis. So you are correct that the police probably don't fire their weapons at people very often. There's definitely cops that have gone their whole career without doing that, but there's no cops, or there's very few cops that have not apprehended anyone, whatever. That's something that they're trained for. And again, they are the front line of law enforcement. That's what they do. So back to the electoral map. Right now, what CNN is projecting is that Biden is up 81 to 50 to Trump. And it's looking, it's still really early. We're about 9:15 or so. Because it's about 9:15, we're not close to who's going to actually be the president yet. I honestly think that we probably won't know for another, maybe few weeks, unfortunately. What do you guys think?
How close it is. Depends how close it is. I mean, I just checked Fox and they have Trump winning 90-2. So, I mean, it depends on who you believe.
That's not right. That's not right.
That's true. It's not 9 at 9. What time is it?
9:15.
9:15. Trump has almost 85 electoral college vote lead. This dead air is not a good thing. You got say something polarized. You're good at that.
Hey man, I just say what I feel, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not finna sit up here and be swayed by what other people think. Like, this is part of the problem. If you watch CNN, you're gonna see one thing. If you watch Fox News, you're gonna see something else, right? And so people have to be able. I know it was people have to be able to formulate things for themselves and decide rather than trying to be on that bandwagon. We'll move on to sports. We'll talk about.
No, sports. Go ahead.
We'll talk about these LA teams, yo. Lakers fans, shouts out to
Mookie Betts.
Lakers. Shouts out to these Dodgers, man. I want to say they came out of nowhere, but they've been in the damn World Series the last 4 years. But it had to be a good feeling. None of this has to do with Kobe, by the way. But we'll see what the Rams get going on. But a lot of good baseball going on. I thought that was really exciting. Yeah.
Give me the microphone, man. This man will not give LeBron any props at all. Congratulations to the Lakers, Lake Show. We appreciate all of the big Kobe energy that you guys brought to it. Some of it might have been a little much, but LeBron, I appreciate you for that. I'm glad the Lakers got that. He's not the GOAT. I'm not co-signing that. I'm not co-signing that. But let me do one quick thing though. Per Fox News, like I said,
130-2 Trump.
129 for Biden, 94 for Trump. Brandon was inaccurate again.
So the guy number 23 that plays for the Lakers, there are 40 people who have. Number 23. There are 40 people who have 4 or more championships, right? So many percent of them are one team champions. Another percent, like 76%, are one team champions. 20-some% are two team champions. And your GOAT is in the same category as with been on 3 teams to win 4 championships. The category we got to put him in is with John Sally and Robert Horry.
Because those are clearly the best players on their team. That's such a...
What are you talking about? You can't sit up there and say, LeBron is the GOAT. LeBron has done this. LeBron has done that. You got to put him in all the categories. People make up shit for LeBron. They be like, LeBron's the only player to ever ride his bike to the finals and score 26 points. And people are like, oh my God, right? You got to look again, this whole media sway, right? When has it been good to go somewhere 9 times and lose? I mean, to go somewhere 9 times and only win 3. But because they want to hype on LeBron, they be like, he's made it to the finals 9 times. Like, it's some great thing, whereas normally they'd be like, dude's a loser, he's only won 3 times. But because we hyped this guy up, so we got to put him in all the categories he's in, right? The category he's in is a 4-time champion with 3 teams, and the only people in the top 40 who had that are Robert Horry and John Sally. That's the category he's in.
And neither Horry, Big Shot Bob, was a killer, or John Sally, who's funny as hell, were the best player in their team or even close to it. So that's the difference there. Your actual argument against racism is better founded than that. That's how off you are with LeBron James. No. You got it. You good. You good. Sit over there in your craziness for a while. Don't drown, but just sit over there and let it get up to your chin. All right. But the reality of it is that LeBron James, what he accomplished this year was magnificent. I do not think he is the GOAT. I respect the hell out of him. Michael Jordan will always be the GOAT to me. But LeBron James, even with Kobe all over this house, LeBron James is 1B. All right? That's the way I feel about it. He's accomplished a lot. I want to talk about Mookie Betts and the Dodgers. I'm a baseball guy. Mookie Betts is amazing. At like 5'9" and 195 pounds, the way he dominates out there in the baseball field is just unbelievable. And he was a difference maker in the Dodgers winning the championship. So way to go, Mookie Betts.
I just got some stats I want to put out there, just for the fun of it. Players who've lost the most NBA Finals. Jerry West played in 9 finals, lost 8 of them.
The logo?
Yeah. His winning percentage is .111%. Number 2 on that is Elgin Baylor. Played in 7 finals, lost in 7 finals. He has a 0 winning percentage. LeBron James is 3rd on this list. At the time of the stat, he had played in 9 finals and lost 6 of them, which means he won 3, and his winning percentage was .333.
How many of those should he have won?
It doesn't matter how many he should have won. He should have won them all. He should be 100%.
No, 6 of those teams shouldn't even been there.
But he's got a .333 percent winning percentage. Also on that list is Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Magic Johnson, right? But Magic Johnson, actually won 5 of them. Won 5 championships. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won 6 of them. So every
6 titles?
Kareem got 6 titles.
Yeah.
Kareem got 6 titles.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
Man, you looking at
has
the
6.
onion, man. That's bullshit.
It's not.
Onion sports. I don't think he does.
So Magic's got a 55.6% winning percentage. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has 60% winning percentage.
Hey, who's the second best player on that team that LeBron took to the championship with the Cavs the first time?
The first time, probably, I don't know. Shit,
Exactly.
yeah,
He
like
won that.
right. So what I was getting at is people prior to LeBron, they stuck with their team. They may have went to another team to win. Winning has because of Jordan, and people want to compare, the thing about winning championships has become like the standard, and therefore he has to have gone and jumped ship and take other people with him to get those championships. It's kind of